Hello, Michael Stack here with AMAX. And today I want to talk to you about a concept called the Pendulum of Care. Now recently ProPublica came out with their latest report, and this one was on opt-outs. And it created a very negative picture of what's really going on behind the scenes within these companies, within these organizations. A lot of information that we hadn't seen before. Now obviously there's two sides to every story, but it really got me thinking about this concept called the Pendulum of Care. So what does this mean, and how can we apply it in our organizations? So on the left side of the pendulum here, there's a focus on cost, a focus on money as really being the primary driver. And the right side of the pendulum is a focus on the employee and really caring for that employee and making sure that they're okay. And somewhere along this pendulum is your organization and where you stand. And if you're swinging one way too far to the left here or one way too far to the right, neither of those are correct. And we'll talk about that in a second. So let's talk about what it looks like and what problems come when you're one way or the other. So if you're swinging over here, if your organization is too far to the left, really focusing on money, focusing on costs as your primary driver of your work comp program, that's when you start to hear those stories that have been written about in these reports. The inequality of workers' comp, the OSHA report that came out, the latest report on opt-out. You hear these really very negative stories that are really horror stories that are happening to these individuals and to their families. By the way, side note, if you are focusing too much on costs, focusing on too much on money as your primary driver, it is actually going to increase your costs. A lot of things like litigation, that it really is going to have a negative impact on your costs, and we'll talk about that in a second. So let's talk about the other side of this pendulum. If you're swinging too far over here, you're really focusing on the employee, you're caring for the employee, and you're setting your policies as such. So what does that look like? So this will happen when companies are like, oh, we love our employees. If you get hurt, we're going to pay you your full salary. We're going to give you your full benefits. You're going to accrue your vacation time. You'll keep your gym membership. And we have a return to work program, but it's optional. So if you want to come back, we would love to have you. But if you feel like staying home, you just stay home as long as you want to, and we'll love to welcome you back whenever you're ready. Now, that might sound nice, but that is negatively impacting the profitability of your organization, and it's also negatively impacting that individual, because we know from statistics, the longer that employee stays out, the less likely they are to return to their position. They're going to start losing that skill set. They're going to disengage from the organization. So a lot of negative things can happen over here, and a lot of negative things can happen over here. So what's the right answer? The right answer that achieves both of those things, the care for the employees and properly managing those relationships, as well as reducing your costs, is focusing on reducing costs as an outcome, not a goal. So your goal as an organization, as an employer, is reducing your workers' comp costs as the outcome of your program, not the goal of your program. So what does that mean? So what that means is you're creating a policy, you're setting expectation, and you have accountability for that policy that you set. So this in practice looks like explaining at the hire, this is our expectation for when you get injured. This is our process. This is our procedure. This is how we're going to care for you. We're going to get you to these medical directors. We want you back to work because you are a valuable asset to this organization. We have a return to work program. We're going to accommodate any injuries that you have and any medical restrictions that you have so you can stay productive. Stay productive for yourself. Stay productive for our organization. You're setting that expectation right at the start, and then you're delivering on that expectation at the time of injury. So your employees know that they're cared for, you're demonstrating that care, and in practice, you're putting them back to work in modifying those restrictions, modifying those jobs so that they continue to stay productive. So that's the pendulum of care. It creates the absolute lowest costs, and it creates the absolute best outcomes. So remember, in workers' comp, your success is defined by your integrity. So be great. I look forward to talking to you again.